Hello, once again. I am Doc Rotten, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net. And tonight we're reviewing Vampires versus the Bronx. This is a film streaming now on Netflix. It's October. Movies are everywhere except the theater. But
wah, wah.
But no, seriously, every streaming thing has just oodles of horror films, and we're going to review a batch of them this October. So we're going to start off with Vampire versus the Bronx. All right, joining me tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm so glad to talk about this movie starring Eddie Murphy as a vampire. Oh no, that's Vampire in Brooklyn.
Or Brooklyn, yes,
yeah.
This is
wrong one.
That's the wrong borough.
Darn!
Wrong borough.
I guess I'm gonna have to leave the podcast.
Yes. Oh my God!
No. I'm always glad to be watching really interesting films that take place in different locations, and this is I call this sort of the Lost Boys, the Lost Brooklyn Boys. But
except they're in the Bronx, but that's okay.
Oh, keep saying Brooklyn, Bronx. I'm sure people in those different boroughs are gonna hate on me.
You're gonna catch some shit for that. All right. Also joining us is podcasting rock star and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm doing good. I am equally as excited to talk about this movie. Oh my goodness. So, okay, I'm gonna take a little time. My grandmother was from the Dominican Republic, very proud Dominican woman, moved to New York. From that moment on, she was a New Yorker. And so this movie resonated so strongly with me. And I like your kind of Lost Boys vibes. And I like, again, I say this a lot, especially with watching Lovecraft Country, but representation matters so much. And seeing these young kids and all these people of color and mixed races and talking in Spanish and Dominican people in the bodega, and like, it just feels amazing. This movie felt amazing to me.
All right. Well, yeah, and there's also a lot of, the actors have a lot of chemistry, a lot of there's really some great things to talk about. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the film. We're going to give our first impressions, and then we chat. And then after that, we give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. You want to stick around for that because that's the fun part. Not going to be long, and you're going to enjoy it because this is a great film to talk about. What film are we talking about? Well, let's take a look. It's called Vampires versus the Bronx. It arrived on Netflix on October 2nd, and it is directed by Oz Rodriguez and written by Oz and Blaise Hemingway, or is it Blaise Hemingway? We'll go with that. The cast includes Jaden Michael, Gerard Jones III, Gregory Diaz IV, Coco Jones, Sarah Gadon, Method Man, Shea Wingham, the Kid Miro, Chris Redd, and Jeremy Harris, among others. There's actually a pretty large cast. The synopsis goes: a group of young friends from the Bronx fight to save their neighborhood from gentrification and vampires. Yes, and vampires. So this is a little gem, if I may say so, out of the gate, hiding over at Netflix. And I hope you listen to this review and catch the enthusiasm I think we're going to share and catch this film. Let's find out what our first impressions are, starting off with Vanessa. Vanessa, I really like what you had to say about the representation, but what about the film itself and the vampires in the story?
Oh, it was so much fun. This felt a lot like an 80s throwback, 90s throwback. You just felt this kind of coming of age story. Really, you get so many stories told through these children, right? The story, racial inequality, gentrification, vampires, all kinds of things, just all wrapped into one. And it was so much fun to watch them, try to save their neighborhood, one, outside of everything that's going on. And then two, interacting with these vampires who are dressed ridiculously. Like the vampire design was great because it fed into all the stereotypes, especially with them watching Blade. And we know how much Blade can feed into those stereotypes with their vampire parties and everything. And I just loved, you get pop culture mixed into it. It just it hits so many of the right notes for me. all while being so much fun and feeling so, it's not that it's a naive movie, but it's still very it feels wholesome, right? In a modern way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what's your first impression of Vampires versus the Bronx?
Oh, I think it's a really fun film. I mean, like Vanessa was saying, it really harks back to 80s and 90s films. It's like a little bit of Lost Boys mixed with a little bit of Scream, because you know them trying to figure out how like vampires work, and so they have to watch Blade, or they get the what the gang member calls the one kid the Puerto Rican Harry Potter. Because he's like the nerdy one with like the rock band Ghost T-shirt, you know. And as someone that's got my brother's girlfriend is Puerto Rican, and they just had a kid, so I always love the representation of Puerto Ricans, especially in that specific area of the country where you just have so many different mixtures of different, because they actually have the diversification of all the different people. There's even the one girl that talks about how her family's from Haiti. You know, so you have all these different people with different backgrounds, and how they sort of integrate their belief system into that as well. Like, oh, you need to stay away from that stuff, or the kid's Puerto Rican mom, you know. And I loved how they worked the adobe garlic,
adobo,
adobo, garlic, you know, stuff that you sprinkle on stuff.
Yeah,
that's something that's kind of cool. It's sort of like what they did with Lost Boys, you know, when they had like put holy water in guns and stuff. And this one they have like water balloons. But I just love that you have something that's very probably a popular thing, just the kitchens, you know, of certain cultures, and sort of using that. And it also, I felt a little bit of like, it felt a little bit like, I mean, not the political aspect of do the right thing isn't the right thing, but it felt like even the two guys sitting on the side felt like the guys from Do the Right Thing, you know. So you had all these things that from that specific area, and then just some interacting with vampires. It almost felt like you know, emo white people versus the Bronx.
Damn hipsters.
I know. I mean, they definitely were very pretty much stringent with just those normal things you see in vampire films. I mean, even the weird floatiness that you see back from 80s films that didn't even do anything new, which is fun.
Simple.
Yeah, but I love the interaction with the families. Some of the one girl with the doing the social media stuff got kind of annoying. And I think my only critique about any of the people in it was Method Man did not seem like
liked him.
Although I did laugh out loud because he's that one part where they put holy water in the Sprite bottles, and he's like, "Those shit stole my Sprite." I did laugh out loud at that, but he just he felt a little bit. He didn't feel like he felt like he was trying to do something different as an actor, and maybe he just needs to stick to more general parts. That was the only thing that kind of, I mean, because there's a little bit of, you can tell a lot of the actors and stuff are not, you know, they're a little bit green, I guess, but you as you really learn to love these characters as the movie goes along. So yeah, it's a fun film with a lot of really fun parts. The villains are great. Yeah, it's just, and it is kind of wholesome because they really don't, you know, there's not really a lot of as much blood. You know, they even do like the Buffy, you know, thing where they turn into ashes type thing. So yeah, it's a fun film, and it's I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I'd heard some good things, and I found it even better than what I'd heard. The movie rests on the shoulders of these three actors, and I'm going to throw Coco Jones in there as Rita.
Yeah.
She joins the crew later in the film, and when she does, it really, really gels. But Jaden Michael, Gerald Jones, and Gregory Diaz, they have such chemistry together, and they're so charismatic in themselves, and they're such great kids. You know, they each have their different struggles trying to fit in, even in their own community, and our hero Miguel is fighting for the community. So with trying to do this block party, and that's kind of the start of the story. And then we have the bad guys coming in and taking all their houses and businesses, and that's something a lot of people can relate to. On top of that, either specifically or metaphorically. But really, these kids are wonderful. They really are great, and I enjoyed watching them. I really, you root for them. You want them. There's a part where, like all movies, they have their struggle and they go their separate ways, and you're like, no, no. But Method Man was hilarious. I liked Sarah Gadon as Vivian, who slight spoilers, turns out to be not exactly who she is at the beginning. And
doesn't she feel a little bit like a Christina?
Yeah, there is a little bit of that in there. But she's really good. And Shea Wingham, I like him a lot, and he made a good Frank character in this. He made, they're familiars, right? Familiar, and there's a moment later in the film where he kind of realizes a little something and lets him go. And I don't know. I really, I love the families as well. The moms. It was all moms. I don't know if you noticed that. They were all moms. And they each one, we spent the most time with Miguel's mom, but like, is it Louise's mom? Is the one that she, didn't speak English, but she was hilarious. She's the one that went to reach for her garlic and is gone, right? And they're all just wonderful. And like the two guys on the street, I thought they were like, man, that's mad vague. And then the sense of community is also really strong here, and I really was drawn to that. The block party, of course, occurs right later on, but everybody joins together in this, and people, for the most part, of course, there are some characters in there that have to do with conflict, but for the most part, the characters are supporting each other and looking out for each other. And I don't know. There's a lot of really great things about this, and I think it's a great film for the Halloween season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love a good love song to New York too. Chris has poken out right there a little Stay Puft. Ghostbusters to me is another great love song to New York, right? And this feels along those lines. It's not being sugary sweet about it. It's not being, unrealistic about it, but it's showing real characters and real moments. Like when Tony talks about having to get rid of the bodega cat, like that is Civil War talk in a bodega. Like not having a bodega cat, like that is the mascot of all bodegas. And gentrification brings people in who find that unsanitary. Well, when you look at it through a certain lens, it is, but when you're in a community like that, it's not, so including things like that just felt so real to me and gave it even more heart to the whole thing.
Yeah. And I do love how the vampires aren't even like subtle. Their property's named Murnau, which is F.B. Murnau, who directed Nosferatu. And then their image is basically Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. I love that part of it, because if you're a horror lover, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'd already put two and two together. Something's off about this. But I love it's a great film about community. It really shows the heart of these families that are just trying to live day by day. And it does feel like and it's like you said, it's very wholesome. There's not a lot of, it's not like one of these, these sort of raunchy kid movies or anything. This is like something a whole family could watch, because even the deaths aren't really bloody. I mean, and you know, there's some pretty cool ways they stab people with different things that are sort of stakes.
So, yeah, the kills are kind of fun.
Sort of stakes.
But they're not bloody like you'd see, like, you know, watching Lovecraft Country, where just blood and brains just spray on people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really fun film, you know, and it still deals with some issues with like gangs a little bit.
I really loved how they handled that too, because they did it in a realistic way to a certain extent. You know, it was kept pretty soft for this movie, but they still included that struggle that young people are going through, especially when they're coming from single parent homes. And I think they handled that in such a really sweet way by showing it how it affected their friendship. You know, between the children, as opposed to the parents, because the kids are they're going to do whatever they want anyways. Yeah. So showing how it affected the children, I thought, was a really smart way to do that.
Yeah, and the dialogue's pretty funny and witty too. Like when the boys meet the girls for the first time on the corner, and you know, the other crew's watching on the street, and they're like, "Oh, strike 3!" Right? And there's just a lot going on. To really breathe life in this. I don't know. This made me think of Santos Ellen Jr. so much from the Bronx. And I just feel like he would really connect with this movie. And kind of wish he could see it, but
yeah. I mean, the director actually has a history of working on a lot of comedies. He's shot stuff for Saturday Night Live. He's done a lot of short films. And so I think this is his first feature from what I looked on his IMDb page. But yeah, it's a really great, and you know, and it I almost feel like it almost feels like an urban John Hughes to some degree, you know, because it doesn't. There's even there's even that, you know, where he's like shy around that girl, and he wants to. And I love how not to give out spoilers, I love how it kind of ends with them too. Things like that. I just it's because I think a lot of times when they do urban films, they try to. When it takes place in like an urban environment, they always have people a little too tough, and they don't really have like. And I think in this, which you have that innocence of these kids and stuff, that really, you know, it's really kind of fun to watch.
I love one of the scenes that I really like that they do a couple of times is when he's writing notes down in his little notepad. It's like, whoosh, and it shows the next step for like killing the vampire or whatever, and they'll do those little cut scenes that feel very like.
It's very Edgar Wright.
Some of the things that we really enjoy in films and from our favorite filmmakers, and it was fun to see that incorporated. I also really like that it kind of had an indie feel to it, the way that it was shot and the way that it felt more less produced, I guess, or less polished in a way. Not to say that the content wasn't, but just the way that you were seeing it. And I think that gave it a kind of a sense of that, you know, 80s, 90s, that little bit more believable feel to it.
Believable, but then they always did a great job of like adding like lighting things. There's always like a lot of reds and blues and stuff in certain scenes that sort of add to sort of the spookiness. Or to the horror aspect of it, that visually made it different than like something. So it felt a little bit like Wes Craven meets, you know, Spike Lee a little bit, but it's I thought it's a really fun film that makes you happy by the end of it, and
it does.
I wish they'd make more films like that.
I shed a couple tears at the end.
Oh, nice!
It touched me.
Nice. All right, well there you go. That's our review of Vampires versus the Bronx. What we do now is we wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that. But before we do, if you are still around, 1, thank you. 2, please hit subscribe down below. It helps us greatly. Also hit the like button. And if you'd like to hear more of these, hit the bell and you'll get notified later. Of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Hit some comments down below. All right, let's do this. Let's do it. Vanessa, you are up first. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Final thoughts would be that I love this movie. It's a love song to New York. It's a love song to youth, to, you know, being on the verge of innocence, I think, discovering new things about the world, having fun, just in having real fun. When's the last time you saw a movie where kids were just running around in the streets? unsupervised, unguarded. You know, that I think subconsciously really weighed on me, to see kids just be free, you know, especially right now, especially in 2020, this shit show of a year. Yes. You know, this movie was so much more than I expected it to be. It really touched me. It's so heartwarming and funny and fun, and just acted and shot really well. I don't think you could come out of it feeling bad. You'd have to want to really feel bad to come out of this movie, not saying, hey, that was a lot of fun. I didn't mention while we were, you know, talking more generally, but Rita, I thought, was just so great. I loved her female presence. I loved that she was strong and smart and to the point, and kind of whooped them all into shape and was like, all right, I know what to do here. Listen to me. What she says, I've been preparing for this my whole life.
I like that one.
I love that. I really did. So I'm going to give this movie a 5.
Oh, wow.
This is in my top 10 of the year. Absolutely. Awesome. Very close to the top. This movie really, really touched me in a special way. Favorite scene is hard, because there's a lot of great scenes, especially really quick cut scenes. Like there's one moment where Miguel's like, there's vampires in the Bronx. But I think the one who captured my heart the most is Luis. And he had some amazing moments at the end. And one that completely I just busted out laughing is when he took out that Eucharist, put it in his mouth, and was like, body of Christ. And the vampire exploded.
Yes, yes.
That just was like so much fun. And then he did another one after that. And I have to watch it again, because I can't exactly remember what it was, but that was just wonderful as well.
Yeah, he definitely prepared for that one.
Yeah.
All right. Christopher G. Moore, what is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Yeah, I think this is just a fun film overall, and it's not like, you know, a lot of times when we watch horror films, we want like a high gore factor, or you want this or that, but then we always want those films that are almost like Monster Squad or Goonies, or any of those films, or Lost Boys, that sort of like, you know, can be that sort of family film that everybody can watch together and enjoy together and laugh together, and this is that film, and I think the main thing is you really care about the characters. You care about the situations they get into. And Louise is my favorite character.
Yeah.
Reminds me of myself growing up, being that geeky little kid and always being scared of everything. And so when he steps up to the game and I think he even says one of the lines from Blade, something about suckers or something like that. Suck it. Huh?
Suckhead.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's just seeing him come into his own and gain some courage, because he's always like down in that drink every time he gets nervous. Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's a fun film, and you don't see that too much, especially in the horror genre, or any things that sort of, they're either too extreme or they're too kiddie. And this one is like in that middle area that's perfect for everybody. So, I think my only issue, I had a problem with Method Man for some reason. I didn't believe him. I mean, I did laugh in that one part, but I think that's the only thing that would maybe give it more of a perfect score for me. So I give it a 4.25. But I did enjoy it a lot. Although, even though I had a problem with him, I think one of my favorite scenes is the scene where they sneak out of the church, and he's like, everybody's got their eyes closed, and he opens it, and they have that like whoop. The camera goes in, whoop, and then he goes in there and he says his line, which is the one part that I probably laughed the most, is when he's like, "Oh shit, stole my Sprite." That's my favorite line. But I think that's probably my favorite scene. Even though it visually it's a really cool film, and I think Oz Rodriguez, I think the director, he needs to be really proud of what he created. I want to see them like, you know, Frankenstein versus the Bronx.
Right? I know.
Wolfman
now
versus
you're
the
talking.
Bronx. Please do more of this. I hope it does really well on Netflix, to where let's see them have to go against more of these sort of like monsters in the future, because I would definitely be down for watching that.
That's a really great idea. I had a blast with this, and it's just such a delight. It's not your hardcore horror film. We love those. We'll get those. It's the 2nd of October, so we got plenty more days in the month to get, you know, our books of blood and whatever else is coming that's going to bathe us in gore and horror and monsters. You know, this is lighthearted. It's you know, it has a little edge to it, but not really. It rests on the shoulders of the main three characters, and I think Rita adds to that in a great way. The actress is Coco Jones. What a great name. She really makes it a solid crew. Without her, I don't think it would. Bless you. Without her, I don't think it would be as strong, to be honest with you, in the latter half of the film. But I just really was drawn to these three. They, you know, they're just their struggles with their community, struggles, you know, just being who they are, and being awkward around girls, and then suddenly now there's vampires. But you know, because you know they're willing to believe in vampires where nobody else will. They, you know, they're there to save the day. You know, I'm always a sucker for that, to be honest with you, right? I'm always a sucker for that scenario, and there's been plenty of films like Chris mentions that have capitalized on that in the past and very successfully. So the vampires are vampire enough. They're basically the kind of vampires that you would think of if you were a teenager. You know, they're hanging upside down when they can't find them in their coffins, and
I love that.
There's a lot of fun stuff. And it is kind of very Lost Boys in that, you know, they're basically being chased around by the vampires and they have to do them in one by one. What's that On the Block movie?
Attack the Block. It kind of has a little bit of that too. Maybe not as hard as that, or coarse, you know, as far as the characters and their situation. It's a little bit more, like I said, lighthearted. This is just a fun film. This is a really fun Halloween October film to enjoy. Even if you are, you know, a hard case and you want to have those blood and guts, I think this one might tickle you regardless, and you might actually you'll hate to admit it to yourself that you like this movie. I have a feeling. So yeah, I'm giving it a 4.25 as well, but I still think it's going to end up in my top 10. I really do. I think it's going to have to, just because of the pure enjoyment that I got out of it. That's, you know, above maybe some of the small criticisms that I would have, that I haven't really shared a whole lot of those because I'm just championing this film. But much like Chris, you know, there's a couple characters that maybe, and you know, maybe I wanted to see a little bit more done with the vampires, but at the same time, it works in the environment that it is, in the context. So, a favorite scene. You know, my favorite scene actually isn't a horror scene, which kind of this film was really odd because I actually think the lead up is better than the resolution. Although I still had a great time with, you know, the conclusion of the film. The first and second act are really great as you learn and explore these characters. And my favorite scene is an example of that, and that's when our heroes meet the girls for the first time, and they're trying to impress them with, you know, these passes to their block party, and they're just so awkward. And the girl, and the mom yelling.
Oh, the mom yelling! Yes. Oh man, and it's just so embarrassing. And you know, the kid just and you know, having the comment from the, you know, the crew on the street, and it just felt like community. It felt like the kids' personality came through. The girls were funny too. The mom was hilarious. It just was, there was a lot going on here that really kind of informs the rest of the movie, to be honest with you, at that moment. But it was just like, it was charming. I was charmed. And it won me over.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun film, you know, and I think, I think there's a couple of characters that I kind of like. The social media girl kind of got on my nerves.
But it's so real.
It does, but I doubt, like, if your parents are yelling at you, I doubt I think they'd swat her camera away.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's overall, it's a great film, and again, I love that kid Louise. He's so freaking awesome.
It was great. All right, there you go. There's our review for Vampires versus the Bronx. Check it out. It's on Netflix. You have Netflix. Go watch it. Let us know what you think down below. Christopher, Vanessa, thank you for joining me. Wow, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got to watch this film and talk about it because it's worth checking out.
There you go. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.